Hey class, it's week 3. And we're graphing linear functions this week using a table of values. So the dates for this is April 13th through April 17th. Hope everything is going well and you guys are still staying healthy, and I miss all of you. So let's graph some lines. So here's our first example. Graph each function using the table. So our first linear equation we're going to look at is y equals x minus 4. So since it's y equals, that is considered our output values. And x is our input value because that is what we're going to plug into the equation. And then when we put that in there, it will give us our y value. And then that makes a list or a table of ordered pairs that we can graph on our graph. And if we've done it correctly, it should make a line. So our first input, -2. You'll notice that I'm going to choose -2, -1, 0, 1, 2 for all of these tables. So I just picked 2 negatives, 0, and 2 positives. You really could pick any values for x, but I like to do a couple negatives, a couple positives. So my first one, I'm going to do my work off to the side here a little bit. So my first input is -2. That means that whenever I have this x here, I'm going to replace it with the -2. So I'm going to have y equals, instead of x minus 4, it's going to be -2 minus 4. And then -2 minus 4, or -2 plus -4 is -6. Then I'm going to go with my next one. -1 minus 4, or -1 plus -4, be -5. Then input my next x, 0 minus 4. 0 minus 4 is -4. Notice I'm putting my outputs next to the x value in the table that they corresponded with. And then y equals 1 minus 4, -3. And then y equals 2 minus 4, which is -2. Then I can graph these points, which we practiced back in week 1. So -2, -6. So remember to start at the origin. -2 would be 2 to the left and then down 6. -1, -5. So 1 to the left and then down 5. 0, -4 would be over 0, down 4, right on the y-axis. And then +1, 1 to the right, -3, down 3. +2, 2 to the right, down -2. And we can see that this makes a line. And actually this line will go on in both directions infinitely, so we can draw the arrows on the end. So if it says, are these 4, 5 ordered pairs the only solutions to this equation? No. If so, if no, name another solution. Well, how about this point right here, or this point right here on the line? These are all solutions along this. So we could say +3, -1 is a solution. +4, 0. +5, +1. Those are all some examples. Since this line continues forever, I could continue picking values. Like if I plugged in 5, I got out 1, 5 minus 4. Since you can continue to pick x's and it goes on forever, there are many solutions. We could even say infinitely many. If I can spell that, infinitely many. Sorry, infinitely many. You could, for explanation, you could say the line is continuous the line is continuous. Or you could say that you could keep choosing X inputs and get out different Y outputs. All right, here's our next one. So our function is y equals negative 5x, where x is going to be our input. So we're going to plug in those x's into there, and then our y is our output. And when we have y equals negative 5x, that really means negative 5 times x. So remember, when you have a coefficient in front of a variable, the operation in between is multiplication. So I'm going to start with my first input of negative 2. That means that y will equal negative 5 times negative 2, which is positive 10. My next input is negative 1, so negative 5 times negative 1 is positive 5. 0, negative 5 times 0 is 0. Negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. And negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. All right, graphing those points. The first point, negative 2, positive 10, means that you start at 0, 0. Negative 2 means 2 to the left. Positive 10 means 10 up. So 2 to the left, 10 up. Negative 1, 5, so 1 to the left, up 5. 0, 0 is my origin point right there. 1, negative 5 means 1 to the right, down 5. Then 2, negative 10 means 2 to the right, down 10. And so you can see this one also makes a line. I have a line tool here. It's just a much steeper line. See if I can draw it straight. Straight as I could get. There we go. There, it straightened it out for me. And then you can put your arrows on the end. All right, this one is y equals x. So again, x is my input, y is my output. But it is just y equals x, which means it's kind of like, you could think of it as 1 times x, or just x and y are the same thing. So if x is negative 2, then it's y equals negative 2 as well. If x is negative 1, then y equals negative 1. If x equals 0, then y equals 0. So they are x equals y. They're the same. This is actually one of the parent functions of a linear function. It's the the original line per se. So negative 2, left 2, down 2. Negative 1, left 1, down 1. 0, 0. Positive 1, right 1, up 1. Positive 2, 2, right 2, up 2. And then we have our line created there. Let's see if that will change it to a line. There we go. This little tool up here in the right corner, right there, if you're using, I don't know if it has that on yours, but it's the line tool, so shape tool. All right. I think there is one more. So I chose the same x values again, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2 to plug in. And then our y is our output value, so our answers that we get when we plug into x. Our function this time is 1/2 of x plus 1. That really means that y equals 1/2 times x plus 1. Now, taking half of a number isn't too difficult, but if you want to use your calculator, you could change that to 0.5 times your x plus 1. So whichever one you want to do. So my first input is negative 2. So I'm going to have 1/2 times negative 2 plus 1. Well, 1/2 of negative 2 is negative 1. and negative 1 plus 1 is 0. So my output for that is 0. Then I have 1/2 times negative 1. Sometimes I'll use parentheses, especially if I'm doing multiplication by a negative. So that's 1/2 times negative 1, and then plus 1. Well, half of negative 1 is negative 1/2, so negative 0.5, plus 1. That's like 1 minus 1/2, so that's positive 1/2, so 0.5, or positive 1/2. Plugging in 0, I'm going to do that over here. 1/2 times 0 plus 1. Well, it's 0 plus 1 is 1, because 0 times anything is 0. Then 1/2 times positive 1 plus 1. 1/2 times 1 is just 1/2, so 0.5 plus 1 be 1.5. And then the last one will be 1/2 times 2 plus 1. Half of 2 is 1, plus 1 is 2. Okay, graphing those. So the first point is negative 2, 0. So you go to the left 2, up 0, right on the x-axis. The next one's negative 1, positive 0.5. So you're going to go to the left 1, then up just 1/2, positive 1/2. 0, 1 means you go over 0, up 1. Right 1, up 1.5, so right in the middle of 1 and 2. And then to the 2, 2 is to the right 2, up 2. If you've done it correctly, again, it should be linear for you. Oops, I didn't have my line tool turned on that time. Here we go. There you go. All right, so the goal is to practice plugging in those values into your table. If the x's are missing, you can pick negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2. And then solving for y, and then graphing the ordered pairs. These should all be linear, so your answers should come out on your graph to be straight lines. Thanks for watching.